Hello, Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
For all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels.
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Happen in 49, 61, 63 or 69 when they reach the final. But the class of 2021 have delivered. Leicester City are FA Cup winners at last and are history makers at Wembley.
They have blown their rivals away. They have blown us all away in truth. Premier League champions 2016. The amazing Leicester City.
Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Right, Chris.
All right there, all right the back. How the devil are we all? Well, that was so far it's been a bit of a shock with the results today, but well, let's hope there's no more shocks tomorrow, eh? Big game tomorrow, though. Yeah, I know it's Man City, Liverpool, but the big game obviously is Crystal Palace. I always thought of them as a bogey team, but actually looking at it, they've not actually beaten us in 5 games. This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Listen to us on all your favourite podcast platforms, including obviously Spotify, Google, Apple and Amazon. And thank you if you are listening, and watch us on Leicester Till I Die TV. And if you are doing that, then please do press that subscribe button. Good evening. It is. So we've got Palace coming up, and let me even as well, bring in my co-host, always here for me on the preview show, my wise old owl. Don't tell him what I call him when he's not here. My wise old owl, Craig. Good evening, sir. How the devil are you?
Good evening, Chris. I'm good, thanks. Hello, everyone.
But I'm sure, being of a certain age, and I'm not saying that you ever use this, but you will, of course, remember or have heard of Dear Deirdre.
Yes, I will. I do. I am aware of Dear Deirdre.
Yes. Yeah, like you say, you know, you did. I used to just read it because it used to make me feel better myself. Well, I'm going to have a Dear Craig moment, if that's okay. Because Mella, good evening. How the devil are you? He says, hello, Chris. With your experience of disappointment as a fan, he's knowing Leicester very well now. He knows Leicester very well. Please, can you make me feel better, pal? I don't think we can we?
Well, I would say probably the greatest moment in Watford's recent history would have been that playoff semi-final victory against us. Now, if you weren't in the Championship, you wouldn't have had that moment. So you've got a chance of enjoying that again.
Not sure that's a lot of comfort to him, but I know what you mean. Mella, you know, as I said, and I want to make this clear again because I've not spoken to you personally for a long time, but I do get a bit of stick on Twitter for it. I don't hate Watford. I don't hate Norwich, and I have nothing against their fans at all. It's just the way that your clubs are run.
I'm hearing a yellow bias there, Chris.
Well, maybe a little bit. No, I just think you as fans deserve more, and we've been there, haven't we, Craig? You know, with maybe owners and managers that sort of don't know what they're doing. But yeah, mate, you just need to get a new owner in at Watford because he's not going to change, is he? He changes managers more than he changes his underwear, I think.
I know, and it's got to be disappointing because you've got some decent players by the sounds of it today. You know, you had enough chances to have got something out of that game, but as we know, you don't take your chances, and you run the risk of giving them away at the other end.
You don't, and you know, just write to him and say, look, changing managers doesn't help. And when you're sat 12th or whatever it was in the Premier League, and your owners come in and say, well, we're sacking that manager, you know, you've got to start questioning. But it's harder to get people off the board these days than it used to be. Doug, good evening, sir. How the devil are you? Thank you for joining. Getting nervous yet? Big game tomorrow. Big game tomorrow. I'm looking. Well, it better not be a bad game because I put my show back, my post-match show back, so I can watch it. But you know what it's like, Craig, when you build these games up to be something, and suddenly it's the most disappointing game of the season.
Well, it happens a lot, doesn't it? Especially when Sky build them up into the game of the season or whatever. But I think Liverpool. I think Liverpool will win that game. I'll be very surprised if they get beaten. Let's put it that way.
I don't think they'll be beaten. And I had yesterday, I did a stream. It's still on the YouTube channel, ltid TV. And I had a Man City and a Bernard, who was a Man City fan, and Connor, a Liverpool fan. And I think there were never this huge gap between Liverpool and Man City that Sky seemed to me. Liverpool have come back in, and we've all kind of been bought into it. I know I did, but when I was looking at the facts and figures, some of the start of the season, Liverpool were above Man City.
I mean, it gets on my nerves, to be honest. You know, they're billing this as the title decider, as if all the rest of the games to come don't count. You know, we might as well just finish it then. You know, all these. I know they try and big things up, but as football fans, you just get a bit fed up of it because we've all been watching football long enough to know that you can get freak results. You know, nothing's over until Hazard's not one into the top corner, as we all know.
Yes, yeah, it's true. TM, good evening. How the devil are you? Are you not watching the match? You're currently 1-0 up, talking to big surprises, but. Seeing as you're here, TM, I mean, I honestly thought that I wouldn't bother doing it this week, but hey, just for you,
It's time for the Daily Spurs.
14 years, 40 days, no hours, but 43 minutes and 45 seconds. And TM, you don't have to thank me. And, there's a lot of work that I'd do it just for you, just because we like you as a Spurs fan.
To be fair, I mean, the way they've been talking this year, getting in the top 4 is like winning a trophy, from what I've heard.
Well, yes. And, we're still waiting for you, Tottenham. We're still waiting for you. Let's just say that. Hey, TM, you're welcome. But I mean, we've got a match to look forward to tomorrow. But let me just go back to Thursday night because you were at the stadium. Yeah. I'm interested to get your thoughts, and I know you did a video for me, but and that's on Facebook, and people can go on and watch that. But I watched that, and yes, it wasn't the most exciting game as a neutral, but I thought we played very well. We've played a hell of a lot worse than that.
Yeah, I think particularly first half, I think that I wouldn't say we dominated, but I think we edged the first half. They looked dangerous on the break, but they didn't really make the most of the possession that they had. But it looked to me, and I think Brendan alluded to this in his post-match comments, that he was quite surprised that they seemed to be happy to get players behind the ball and block up the middle of the park to stop the space for the likes of Maddison and Tielemans to operate in. And they did that pretty well. So our only opportunities were out wide. And as everyone who saw the game know, that was a little bit hit and miss. Not everything was coming off. Barnes, you couldn't knock him for trying in terms of trying to get forward, but he looks for the same thing most of the time. He looks for that little 1-2, and when that's not coming off, the ball is invariably turned over. Kelechi had a great chance, should have scored, you know, and again, I think Brendan has been quoted as saying, you've got to be making the goalkeeper work. He's had 3 of these opportunities in recent games going through on the keeper, and he's tried the little dink in all 3 of them, and he's missed all 3. Almost trying to be too cute. But when you're on top and you have those moments in tight games, you have got to finish them, and hopefully it won't come back to haunt us. But overall, you know, I thought we played pretty well. Second half was a little bit disappointing. But I think the other thing was that we didn't see anything too worrying from them to make me think that we couldn't go there and get a result.
No, and maybe, Brendan, just a hint here for you when you're saying that about Inacho, maybe play him a bit more and he'll get a bit more match practice, you know, because last year, when you were playing 2 up front, he was banging them in. So maybe, Brendan, look at yourself. Look at yourself, mate, you know, before you criticise these players. I mean, Andrew says here, just his opinion, but Nacho is stealing a living. I've just said I don't think he is. I think he plays very well. I think he holds the ball up. You look at him as for scoring goals because he's a striker, but as I've just alluded to, you know, we know how he plays better. And Brendan doesn't play that way, does he?
No, he doesn't. I mean, I think he had overall, I thought he had a poor game, I must admit, the other night. I don't think he held the ball up very well. He had done in previous games, but I don't think he did on that one. And as we've seen in previous years, he is a player who thrives on confidence.
Yes.
And the trouble is, as soon as that starts ebbing away, you know, missed chances, it gets worse. So I think there's been a little bit of a deterioration in his game over the last few games. But I mean, he managed to score against Man United. So yes, he does need the run of games, and I think he's going to get them because at least he does hold the ball up. As I say, even though it wasn't his best game the other night, he does hold the ball up better than Daka does. If you're playing with Daka, it's got to be, you know, it's ball over the top and that's it. At least with Iheanacho, he does have a little bit more variety to his game.
Like you say, there's nothing there that sort of, you know, to say that they're second in the Dutch league, and maybe it says something about the Dutch league that they are second. But going away now to PSV, I don't think 0-0 is the worst result going. Obviously, it would have been nice to go with a goal, but they've, and I don't know whether he's going to play Iheanacho or Daka. I'd like to hear your views on that. But if he does play Daka, when they've got to come to us because it's at their ground now. They're going to have to come to us, which would enable Daka maybe to have that space if he is played to you know to get the breakaways.
Yeah, I think so. I think what you can't leave him though is isolated because they do have a lot of quick players. Their fullbacks were very quick, and they have a couple of quick wingers. So you know they're not lacking in pace. So the service to him would have to be good. You couldn't just knock it and hope he gets on the end of it. But it's a lack of support up to the striker that worries me, that we don't get players around them long enough. As I say, Barnes will look for a 1-2, but he doesn't really, if the ball's on the other side of the pitch, he's not always getting in and around the box. Midfielders are not always getting in and around the box. And again, Brendan alluded to Dewsbury Hall, who had a great game that night, but he does need to start chipping in with some goals as well. You know, we look to be relying on something magical from Maddison or Iheanacho and Barnes. You know, we're not chipping in with goals all over the place at the minute, and we don't seem to be getting that many players forward. But just going back to your point there about them having to come out, I think they will have to come out. They are a team who look to play on the break, but they can't do that obviously at home unless they give up possession to us and sit in.
Yeah,
which I think they came for a draw. If they nicked anything, I think it was a bonus. I think they fancied themselves at home, so they came to get a draw.
And Daka or Nacho for you?
I think you'd have to go with Iheanacho. I get your point about playing in behind, but I think if the ball goes up to him and it doesn't stick, then you're never going to get out. Is my worry. So I would look to Daka later on in the game, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, Tillemans, and last point on this, but Tillemans was obviously playing a more deeper role because we had no Ndidi. And we've got no Mendy in the European squad. We've got him in the Premier League squad. Were you surprised no Chowdhury starting?
A little bit, but I was quite pleased that he went with Tielemans and Dewsbury Hall really as a two.
Yeah.
Would not surprise me if on the away leg he goes with a back three and pushes the wing backs further forward, which means the centre of those three can act as the defensive midfielder almost and push out.
Yeah.
And that would allow you to play on the break more with your fullbacks, your wing backs getting forward. So I think I would be looking to potentially do that, depending on who's fit. We saw Johnny Evans look like he was limping off at the end, holding his heel. I've not heard any more reports from that. But again, for me, if you had Fofana in the middle who can step out into that defensive midfielder role and a Marty and Cags either side of him, that wouldn't be a bad ploy for me.
I feel sorry for Marty. He's done so well, and he's just been dropped. But it's only half time.
Exactly.
We're not out of it by a long way, and there's some worse results than ours, Roma. But let's wait. But anyway, we've got a game coming up tomorrow. And thank you for doing the show today and not last night, because it is, again, still on the YouTube site, Leicester TV. You can see my conversation with the ex-Leicester City women's football team, and I know I've got the letters the wrong way around there, manager Jonathan Morgan. A very honest and open interview. And I didn't realise, without him and his family, there probably wouldn't be that particular women's team. And from where we were and where he'd brought us to, once you get in that top league, I mean, as he admitted, there's a huge gulf between, first and second divisions in the women's team, bigger than the men's. But, respect for him for coming on and being open and honest, and respect from all sort of Leicester fans for everything he did for the women's team. But I'm just seeing some breaking news come up. What is this? Yeah, the Thames flood barrier apparently is going to be closed because of Arsenal fans' tears.
Very good.
I couldn't resist it. I mean, Brighton are bottom. They haven't won in about 8 games. They're bottom of the form table, and they go and beat Arsenal.
Yeah.
And as a public duty for all you Leicester fans, I did go on to Stephen Fleetley's channel just to say well done, guys, and Arteta in, follow the process. He wasn't too happy, but I did it. I took one for the team, guys. Took one for the team.
Thanks, Chris. Well done, mate.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. It has to be done, doesn't it? But we've got Palace on Sunday, 2:00, not on TV or the normal sort of TVs. We're on a bit of a good run at the moment. I mean, we've said all season, Craig, like we beat Man United 4-2. This is it. Our season's going to turn around. We beat Liverpool 1-0 just before Christmas. This is it. Our season's going to turn around. False dawns, a few false dawns this season, but maybe it's starting to come right because we've been getting a few wins, a few clean sheets, but we're getting the players back now.
Yeah.
And I know for every 2 we get back, we seem to lose 1, but baby steps, as they say. But are you feeling a bit more confident now with the way the squad's looking?
I think so. You're right. We are getting our best players back on the pitch, plus the return of Johnny Evans. It looked like Thomas was going to be out for a while, but he was back on the bench and waiting. Obviously, we'd be a lot happier, I think, if Jamie managed to get himself fit and stayed fit for the rest of the season. I think that's I think we always see how much we miss him when he's not there. I think we take him a bit for granted, and he can go 2 or 3 games without scoring, but we forget what else he brings to the team, But yeah, we're looking more solid. I think, some players have dipped a little bit this season, this second half of the season. Tielemans hasn't been quite at it, but then you've had the likes of Dewsbury Hall, who's stepped up and had a fantastic season so far. So I would be, I am feeling more confident. It'll be interesting, this game, because you've got 2 teams who have both got one eye on the next game, which is unusual. We've got the return leg, and then they've got the cup semi-final. at the weekend as well. So it'd be interesting to see what teams are put out, whether anyone is risked. I think we're both mid-table teams, to be honest. So we're not. Neither of us are going down. Neither of us are going to get into the European places. So we're both looking at cup competitions for some glory. So it'd be interesting.
I mean, they're sat in 9th, we're sat in 10th, and even in the form table, they're 5th in the form table, we're 6th in the form table. So you can't split us. I just want to say, Brad. This is Brad, by the way.
Yeah.
And I know now you can't. I wasn't sure. I've worked this out now. Granddad and Uncle Albert. It is a matter of opinion, and you are an arse, sir. Let me just say that. That's my opinion. You are an arse, sir.
No, I'd like to know which of us is which, to be honest.
Well, I didn't want to ask. I didn't know which was worse, But no, Brad, you're welcome. Thanks for popping on, mate. I mean. Let's have a look into this game here. I mean, it's it's very similar. I mean, both of us again have only won 3 in the last 5. But Palace, did get that draw against Manchester City. Brad says he'll let us argue over who's who.
Cheers,
just because your girlfriend's on a high, mate. Don't enjoy it. It won't last. Enjoy it. But I mean, we lost to Arsenal, which was probably going to be a bit of a free hit at the time, I think. But again, not much between us.
There's not. I mean, they're very similar. They're not letting goals in either, are they? Looking at that, only Burnley. Having said that, Burnley and Watford have both scored past them. So I mean, it's on paper you would be struggling to find a favourite, wouldn't you? He's done a great job there. To be fair to him, I wasn't sure. I'm sure a lot of people weren't sure about Vieira coming into the Premier League, whether it would take him any time or not. But he's found a way of playing. When you look at their squad, they've got some very good players. Particularly offensively, and still, I think Eze's not back at full fitness yet, but he's found a right combination. The guy they got from Celtic, who we were linked with, Edouard, hasn't really hit the ground.
I was going to ask you. I was just going to say that he's not. Maybe we were good to not go for him.
Yeah, and I think it's is it Meta or something who's been scoring the goals for them. But I've said before on this program that I really like Elise down the right hand side. I think he would have been great for us, looking for a right-sided, left-footed player. And Gallagher in the middle. Obviously, he won't be playing. I would imagine he can't play, or he won't be allowed to play in the FA Cup semi-final. Yeah. I don't know if it's Premier League rules, but I would imagine it would be part of the agreement that he can't play them in whatever competition. So he's got nothing to save himself for. So he'll be an interesting watch in the middle of the pitch. I think it'll be a good battle between him and Dewsbury Hall, I would think.
Oh, yeah, I would think. Terry, good afternoon, sir. Evening, whichever you want to call it. Sorry I'm late. Just stopped laughing at another awesome of epic matches. I forgive you then. You're allowed to be late if that is what you're doing. And as Brad says quite rightly, I'm the only one that feels strange watching another side bottle 4th place. Yes. And they've been at it all season, Arsenal. Because, I mean, I did take the wee out of them a bit last season, so they were enjoying it. And when I did post that comment on Stephen's chat, his argument is like, well, you're not going to be in Europe next season, are you? And I'm like, yeah, but you're not there this season. Where's that argument going? It was a bit of like a one-legged argument, that one. But yeah, like you say, I think with Edouard, I think we probably I think he was overrated. And the thing was, obviously, Brendan looked at him and thought, well, he knows what he plays like. And a bit like Benkovic, who we had in Scotland and sort of was playing every game, he's knows enough to say, yeah, you were good up there, but you're not going to cut the mustard down here.
No. I think you tend to find the players that come down from Scotland and are a success are either sort of the combative type. So combative midfield players, like John McGinn, or fullbacks who can bomb forward. Tierney at Arsenal, Robertson, obviously who came via Hull, at Liverpool. So those players who it's all about their power and their pace and their physicality. When it comes to strikers and defenders, you know, when they're playing against better strikers or they're playing against better defenders, that's when the players from Scotland tend to struggle a little bit. So it is a gamble, I think, at either end of the pitch.
It is. We'll come on to it later in the Did You Know section, but you know, I've always thought of Palace as a bit of a bogey team for us, but they've not actually beaten us in 5 games. But looking at the one in earlier on in the season at Palace, we played them quite early on, and I don't think we'd sort of quite realised how the season, you know, was going to be for us this season. 2-2. I mean, looking back on it, Palace definitely deserved it, and they were lucky, I think, not to actually win it. For Leicester to be 2-0 up at half time, we nearly, that was nearly a bank raid job, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Now I remember it because I think did Schlupp got the equaliser?
Yes, he did. Yes.
Yeah. It was definitely one of those where the result was much better than the performance. That's sure, you know, based on our overall performance, even taking a point seemed to be a bit of a smash and grab.
Yes, no, it did. And I've been surprised by Palace. You mentioned it earlier. You know, I thought, you know, they'd never sort of done much under Roy. They'd had their sort of mid-table, you know, anonymity, if you like. You know, he kept them in that. They were never in danger of going down under him, but they were never going to win anything. Shame he can't do that at Watford, really, isn't it? But you know, you've got Palin. I thought Vieira never managed in this division before, and I thought he was going to, you know, really struggle. And I had them as down like 15th, 16th. But in fairness, he's again, you know, as a lot of teams have this season, they seem to sort of do quite well, like Brighton and West Ham, and they've kind of dropped off. But you know, they went to Arsenal and beat them 3-0.
Yeah, I think what he's got is he's gone with sort of youthful players or players who weren't necessarily playing at their best, and he's put an arm around them, or he's given them an opportunity. And let's face it, most of those players are younger players. He's someone that they will look up to. Whereas with Hodgson, if you were a forward-thinking player with Hodgson, you're thinking, what I'm being told to do first and foremost is to track back and defend. Now I'm being given a bit of freedom to go forward. I'm being allowed to express myself a bit more. We're looking to score goals, not just keep them out and nick one. That's what that team needed. You know, those players, those young players needed. Go out and express yourself. I'll give you a bit of a structure because, I mean, one of the best midfield players that there's been in the Premier League. So he knows how to set up defensively. But those people, when they're on the ball, he's allowed them freedom. You know, Zaha seems to be a lot happier than he has been for many years. And I think they're enjoying the football again. And when you're enjoying your football, you start getting results.
I mean, I've just made a note here when you said about strikers. If you're a striker under Roy Hodgson, you're expected to take corners, isn't it? Well, that was the case, wasn't it?
Yeah, they never really. They had Benteke and Ayew. They didn't have a prolific one. They haven't really got a prolific goal scorer now, have they? But what they're doing, which we don't have, they've got a lot of players who are chipping in with goals. You know, we're looking at 1, 2, 3 players to provide the most of our goals. So, but they're chipping in from all over the place, and it'll be a tough game, that's for sure.
Yeah. Terry says the question is who is going to keep Zaha quiet.
It'll be interesting to see what he goes with. I think it will be whoever he wants to start against PSV will be on the bench.
Yeah,
I think so. Whether it's however he mixes his fullback, so it wouldn't surprise me if you get Thomas and JJ starting.
Yes.
with Ricardo and Castagna on the bench, saving them for the PSV return, to be honest. And if it comes down to a bit of physicality and pace and power, then JJ's up there with the best of them, I think.
Yeah, but we're not going to do pick a team, because as I say, we just realised that's been impossible this year. I mean, as a centre, would you play Evans at all in this one? For me, I would keep him for PSV because he's got that experience.
Yeah, I think if there's any doubts at all over that heel, I mean, if it is just a matter of he needs a rest, then I think he will do. Yeah, I can't see him playing him, to be honest. I think he'll go back to Amati. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes back to Amati and Soyuncu.
Yes.
And Fofana's on the bench as well and rested.
Yeah. Gonna say good evening. He's raiding his. I know you were in the chat earlier, Static, when I made that comment to Stephen, but I hope you know it's all in good fun. And I wasn't laughing at Arsenal. I was crying, absolutely crying. Sorry, mate, but you got to take it. You got to take it. Arteta in. Oh, you were talking about Vardy, and I thought he'd maybe have one more season in him, but I think it's not the fact that he can't do it. It's just the fact of his recovery time after injuries. And in a lot of ways, we know this season, certainly in the Premier League, is pretty much written off. So if you're going to experiment, then maybe this is the time to do it. But I think for next season, moving forward, I don't think we're going to see Jamie starting as much. And I can see him, as I always said, being used like he was against Burnley, coming on for that last 20 minutes or so and causing havoc with very tired defenders.
No, I agree. He's tried his best to look after him, and Brendan's tried to protect him. But you're right; it's not so much about him not being able to do it when he's on the pitch. It's these injuries that seem to be taking longer to recover from.
Yeah,
and it looked like he was going to come back, and then he got another little niggle. And the problem is, I think, in years gone past, you would have probably played with the niggle because you're a bit younger, you're a bit fitter. And now, if they feel anything, there seems to be that element of we've got a big enough squad, so we'll protect you until you're 95% fit, 100% fit, obviously ideal. But I think you're right. It'll be interesting where Brendan goes to, because obviously he's talked about rebuilding the squad. I think more than likely we're going to lose Tielemans. It'd be interesting to see whether he decides to tinker with that afterwards, and that he tries to find a way to go back to two strikers. And it wouldn't surprise me if he brings in another striker, to be honest, because I think Daka needs some time, and I think Iheanacho isn't consistent enough. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very, very interesting close season for us, I think. Yeah. But you're right about Vardy. I think he'll be an impact player for us.
Yeah. Static, mate, and I feel for you. I do feel for you. I laugh. I'm not going to deny. I laugh, but I feel for you as well.
I think on Arsenal, just a quick one on Arsenal. I'm not surprised at what's happening, to be honest, because when you look at that team, and Arsenal fans will watch them a lot more than me. They're a young team, and young players are inconsistent by their very nature. And they're not experienced of seeing a season through to the end. I know some of them have got a lot of games, but the same way that we weren't really. We've not had that consistency to see a season through. It's a long season. And it didn't surprise me, to be honest, that Arsenal have dropped off a little bit, because you look through that team, that's a pretty young team. If he can keep that together and add one or two to it, then I wouldn't be looking to get rid of Arteta, to be honest. I'd be looking to give him some more money and build that team around a fantastic bunch of youngsters that they do have.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And it's not for me to sort of tell Arsenal fans what, how to feel and what to do. But, he's come in, he had a lot of dead wood in that squad. A few troublemakers, if the rumours are true, and he's slowly getting rid of those bit by bit. And he's rebuilding, but rebuilding is never a quick job. It's always
No.
got to be sort of taken over time. And talking about rebuilding, like you say, yes, possibly. I think they say he will go for another striker because you can't let. I mean, I don't think you can let Jamie go. But I mean, would you first of all? Do you think Jamie would at this point go, well, let me go down to another maybe a lower league team and play out? But then it's going to be harder because those games are tougher, aren't they?
No, Jamie will end his career here. I can't see him going anywhere, to be honest. He will, if anything, he will probably want to go away in the summer and get himself as fit as he possibly can, because this will have been a wake-up call to him that his career, sadly, is getting into its twilight years. And I would imagine that he would want to go out with a bang.
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully, maybe scoring the winner in a European final. Who knows? Who knows?
That'd be nice.
Would you? Good point made there, Dog. By the way, would you? I mean, like you said, and I think there's a problem with these days. And I said this the other night on a channel, is that when players come in, you can't expect them just to be brilliant straight away because they've been brilliant at another club. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be brilliant at yours because they've got to get used to everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I always quote, and I could be totally wrong here, but I always seem to remember when Keegan went from Scunthorpe, I think it was, to Liverpool, he didn't see the first team for quite a few months, and while they got him acclimatized. And that's even more so. I mean, I know you bring some foreign players in for Farner, for example. It's like, they've played here for years, but Sumari, it's going to take them time to get used to the Premier League.
It does. I mean, if you think of any of us, if you took us out of a job that we'd been doing for the last 20 years and took us to another country, you're still not going to be the same person that you were in another country. It's going to take them time to acclimatise and get used to it. And I think we've seen in patches that these are clearly good players. I think the jury's a little bit out on Sumari, but it is rare for players to come in. I think this season you've probably only seen the guy at Spurs has come in and started really well, and I think it's Louise at Liverpool has done great coming in. But it is a rarity. You're right. So yeah, you've got to be looking at next season to see the best of them.
Yeah. TM apparently says it's 2-0 now. She's celebrating like they've actually won a trophy. It's still only one game, TM. It's only one game. What was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, Facebook user here says, how much time does Perez need then if we're hoping Daka gets 70 minutes tomorrow? Perez, I think finally, maybe Brendan's seen what the rest of us have seen.
I think so. I think he brought him in because he pressed well from the front, but he doesn't offer enough other things. For me, Perez is a player who's suited to Spanish football or Italian football, where it's a little bit slower, because he's a clever player. I mean, let's not say that he's got nothing about him.
No.
I think there's been plenty of games where he's taken up very, very good positions, and he's an intelligent player, but he's not really on the same wavelength as everyone else. And he has that sort of mentality that when things are not going well, he tends to, his head goes down and he stops working hard. And at the end of it, in a Brendan team, I think you've got to work hard, or you'd be called Harvey Barnes.
You're not saying he's got favourites, are you, at all? So we've played 9, again, showing how close we are. 19 games played against each other in the Premier League. 7 wins to us, 8 wins to Palace. Because at one time, like I say, they did feel like our bogey team. It is going to be another tight game. I can't see it being... I mean, in one way, I've gone for a draw, and on other prediction things, I've gone for a Leicester win. I just can't work out how this game's going to go.
No, I think I said last week in the Manchester United preview that it had a draw written all over it, and I think this has got pretty much the same. To be honest, as I say, we've got. We've both got our eyes on the next game. So as much as they'll want 3 points, I think this is just one to get through unscathed for both teams.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Well, we're not going to predict the squad because, like I say, it is impossible to. But looking at some of the main areas, I mean, we've kind of touched on the defence and what have you. But do you bring Mendy back in tomorrow?
I think he will. Again, because he can't play against PSV, I think he'll put him in, and he'll look to protect players and keep them fresh. I know people were raving about him against Manchester United. I thought he had an okay game, solid enough.
Yeah.
I thought in possession he was a little bit wasteful sometimes, but he does a job that the others can't really do. So I think he'll play. I would bring him back in. But it'd be interesting to see who he does rest. I think the centre halves will rest. As you say, we're not going to pick the team, but I think he will look to put out a strong team, but rest the players that he can afford to rest.
It's nice to be in a position where we can say we can actually rest.
You know what? It could be one of those where you get to see a couple of the youngsters again. I know there was a couple on the bench. Braybrook was on the bench for that game. It depends if the under 23s or whatever it is, the Premier League 2 have got a team at the week, a game. I don't think they played today, from what I saw. But this is a kind of game where it is an opportunity because it's going to be a tough game. So a good game, a decent opposition. So it is a good opportunity to see how a couple of these youngsters stack up. So it'd be interesting to see if a couple of them at least get 20, 30 minutes off a bench.
Obviously, there's all the talk about Tielemans. Will he go? Will he stay? And we'll probably come on to that in a bit. But I mean, with Mendy, he nearly went in January.
Yeah.
Has it highlighted? And again, maybe there's certain things we've got to take out of this season. Is that without Ndidi in there, we are a bit short. Now we've got Chowdhury who can fill that role. We've got Mendy. He seems to be going with Mendy now rather than Chowdhury. Do we hold on to Mendy? Because he's never let us down. And at the start of last season, when Ndidi was injured, he played really well.
Yeah, I think that will be down to Mendy, to be honest. I'm not sure what his contract situation is. That
one is that's the youngster Jake. That's the troublemaker. Well done at getting a draw with only 10 men on the field. How many men do you want to end up in the field for you for the second leg, mate? Talking about the gap. Sorry, Craig, I'll come back to that in a second. Talking about the gap, Jake, there's a bit of a one appearing between West Ham and the top four, isn't there?
I say back to back Europa League seasons isn't bad for West Ham, really, is it? So
no.
And it'll be interesting to see how they replace Rice next season as well.
Well, exactly. Maybe do a swap with Mendy. We're talking about Mendy.
So Mendy, as I say, I'm not sure what his contract situation is. Maybe someone viewing can find that out. But I would think he would probably want to be moving on now because he's qualified for the World Cup with Senegal. He's won the African Cup of Nations with Senegal. Yeah. I think he would be looking to be number one choice somewhere. And even if he stayed, he's not getting in front of Ndidi, to be honest. So I would like to keep him. I think he's a better option than Chowdhury. If you're going to move one of them on, I think Chowdhury should be the one to be moving on. He's at a stage in his career that he should be moving on and getting more game time somewhere and kickstarting his career. I think he will only be a bit part player at Leicester. So I'd like to keep him unless we're bringing in someone better, and that's always the case, isn't it? You want to strengthen your team, not lose them. But my thought is that Mendy would want to leave. I'm sure he's not happy at how he was treated. And I think that's going to come into play as well.
I think so. I think totally, and you can't blame the guy, like you say, with what he's recently won. Strange decision with Lookman bringing him on to play up front, but then again, he had done that against Liverpool and scored. Do you go with him or Brighton on?
Yeah, I was surprised at Albrighton. I'm surprised Albrighton stayed on the full 90 minutes, to be honest. And I think at the time, I thought when he brought JJ on, I thought he would play him and bring him on for Albrighton and just play him in front of Ricardo, and you'd have a double threat that side. But I think, again, listening to his post-match comments, it was all part of Ricardo's recovery, that they don't really want to push them. So
yes,
he was going to give him 60 minutes and that was it. But I think Lookman needs to keep playing now. You've got what we got 8-9 games of the season. Yeah. I think he needs to be getting a run of games now to see whether he's worth taking a punt on. Because I think the jury's still out. He's played well in some games and he's been quiet in others. I think now Brendan needs to give him enough pitch time to be able to make a full evaluated.
I know. I was talking to an Everton fan the other day. They weren't over enamoured with him when he was there, but yeah, I mean, I think what we're going to say is he's better than under, but whether he's good enough is the question that they say it has got to be decided.
I think the thing with him is, from a squad point of view, he can play equally well or as equally as poorly on both sides of the pitch. Which, when you're looking to have options off your bench, he's an ideal player. He can play down either side or through the middle. So from a squad point of view, he is kind of an ideal person to have in the squad to be put on the bench because he gives you those options.
Yeah, indeed. And Terry, yes, it will be controversial if you're going to play Barnes and Lookman in his place. The other team and the ref might notice we'd got 12 players on the pitch, but you know,
yeah,
I get what you mean. And Jake, you know, I've got to scroll down and find the foxes, mate. It's past your bedtime. It's 6:50. What are you still doing up, Jake? Come on, get to bed now, young man. Your dad's slipping, you know. Up front for tomorrow, do we stick with Inacho or do we go with Daka? Because we've got 2 games a week now, virtually till the end of the season.
Yeah, I think he'll go with Daka. To be honest, again, I know we're not picking a team, but I think it'll all come down to who his team is for Thursday.
Yes.
And I think he'll start with Iheanacho, as I said earlier. So I think he'll play Daka. I think you're going to see almost 2 Leicester City 11s in these 2 games, wherever, you know, where he can, which speaks very highly of the depth of squad that we've got at the moment.
I think it does, and I think we've had the squad this season. We just haven't had the fit squad this season. LDH here just coming back about Mendy's contract. He signed a 3-year contract in 2020. So maybe he's got 1 season left. He was our most expensive signing at one point. This is the thing. Doug's saying here, how do we feel about the game tomorrow?
I assume you're talking about Liverpool-Man City, not our game.
No, I'm going to presume it's our game.
All right.
Because
I think, as we've said, you know, it's a game where both teams will be looking to their next game. So it's one of those. It's almost got the feeling of a dead rubber game, you know, at the end of the season, that it doesn't really matter because you've both got much bigger games coming up a few days later. So, as I say, it's a bit of a nailed-on draw for me, but we'll see at the end.
Doug, if you were talking about some little insignificant game for, you know, tomorrow that's going on, I don't know. Sky haven't mentioned any other game other than Leicester Palace tomorrow. But there is a programme on Leicester Till I Die TV. Look under the football show heading and you'll see yesterday I did a show with a Man City fan and a Liverpool fan talking about it. Very interesting fact. And I learned a bit of the research I'd done for the thing, but it did nearly end up with handbags at dawn. To be honest with you. Doug says, like a testimonial match or a pre-season friendly sort of match. Yeah, you know, I think you're right there. Nearly a tenner for a notebook. Yes, well, it's branded. What can I say? It's top quality notebook, not your sort of Poundland ones. And yeah, Doug says he was meaning the Leicester game as well. So you keep saying this, and it's very true. There are other games on the horizon for both of us. I mean, I'm sure Crystal Palace were a little bit disappointed that Chelsea managed to knock 6 in after having a couple of bad games.
Yeah.
But we have got the European second leg. It is away, unfortunately, but that's one of those things. We've got, and I know you're trying to keep out of the way of the sun.
I am.
You?
I mean, it's
you want to close your curtains. I don't mind if you want to get up and close your curtains.
Yeah.
You do look like Marvel's latest superhero, you know, Sunman or something.
What can I say?
You know, well, who was that character on? No, this is a DC character, Two-Face, where you've got two different faces.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm
No,
not
I
sure
think,
about
I
that.
think it was Two-Face. It was in Batman's, I think.
Oh, well, right.
Yes, but no. So we've got this game on Thursday. We've got PSV away. It's 0-0, so it is still winnable if we can get through there. And would it be just typical of Leicester to have had two really good seasons when, as Louise said on Monday night, we didn't bottle 4th place. We did well to get 5th place, and that's very true. But the season we're struggling. It would just be like Leicester to go on and win this competition. And if we get through, we've got possibly Roma, but they struggled against Blot Glimt, whatever they're called, from Norway.
Yeah, Bodo Glimt. But I think Bodo
Glimt.
Now, I'm not sure if it was in the group stages of the Europa League that they both came down from. Probably not, or it may have been last season. But I'm sure Bodo Glimt.
They were both in the.
But I'm sure.
Yeah.
Bodo Glimt beat Roma 5-2 in a previous season. So they've I
think they beat them 6-1 this season, to be honest.
Oh, was it? Right, okay,
yeah. Then this is what they're saying. It's no way could you presume that Roma was going to beat them.
No, and you know it's a tough place to go. I mean, it's quite high up, I think, in Norway. So quite
in the Arctic Circle, yes.
Yeah, in the Arctic Circle, artificial pitch as well. So you know, in some ways, Roma might be an easier game for us. I know we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but and you know, I don't think Mourinho's got particularly fond memories of us. So
no. I mean, let's get ahead of ourselves. Why not? Would you? And I know we want to win every game, of course we do. And we've got 2 games in hand. And if we've got all these players coming back, 7th and a possible Conference League place next season isn't out of the question. I know it's very, very unlikely, but it's not totally out of the question. But thinking that's, you know, we probably won't get that. Does Brendan say, right, this is where I'm putting all my eggs now? We're going to go for this European.
Definitely. I think, you know, I'd take 16th place and winning this competition, you know, all day long, to be honest, because it means we have European football again and we're starting to get a taste for it. It's going to be disappointing after 3 consecutive seasons of not having European football. So, you know, this is our only chance realistically. So, yeah, I think it's definitely all eggs in this basket.
Yeah, I think TM says she's got her sin glasses on. Well, are they those X-ray specs where you can see through clothes?
I know you can get excited by Spurs scoring a couple of goals, but I think you're taking a little bit far.
I think it's because you're on screen. That's what it is, Greg.
Oh right, okay.
That's what it is. And Terry's basically agreeing with you. It's got an artificial pitch. Which we know, you know, remember QPR having one. Yeah. It's never easy to play on. We're going to have a look at some fun facts and do some score predictions in 1 second, but we'll do that straight after this. Yeah, please, if you are watching on Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube, please be sure to like, possibly if you can do share, and definitely please do subscribe to the channel. It helps. Well, I mean, if TM was having a bit of a sin moment when they were 2-0 up, don't know what you're going to be doing now, TM. You do what your husband's in for a good night. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying any more. Just good luck, Mr. M. Yeah, I tell you. Right now, I said I alluded to this earlier. That I thought sort of Palace were a bit of a bogus team. You know, when I think more the fact that when they have beaten us, it's usually been like 4-1 or something, 5-0, something like that. But we are unbeaten. Leicester are unbeaten in the last 5 Premier League matches against Crystal Palace. And there we go, having lost each of their previous 4 against them. So, again, I'm just wondering if I dare say that, because it's almost like tempting fate, isn't it?
It is. You know, you can go either way, can't you? You can say all records are there to be broken, or they get perpetuated. So
indeed, no, that's a big word.
It's a tough one. We are very, very similar this season, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're both capable of going on a run of good results and throwing them away. It'd be interesting though to see where Palace would have been, because I know early in the season, I think they had 4 or 5 games where they conceded goals right at the end of games, and they they could have easily had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points more than they actually do. I know most teams can say that, but they literally were conceding goals in time added on. So they could have had an even better season than they are, to be honest. Just quickly going back to that Spurs score there, it's interesting to know that the old England midfield is continuing, and not Gerrard and Lampard can't have decent performances on the same day.
Boom. I like it, sir. I'll give you that one. But please don't talk about last minute goals or even past minute goals. It does send a chill down me back. Palace have won their last 2 away league matches, beating Watford and Wolves, having won only one of their first 12 away fixtures this season. The Eagles last won 3 in a row in April, May 19. Well, you know that then play Leicester. And Mr. M, well, he's getting undressed and he's getting into bed ready here.
Oh, wow.
Look at this, 4-0.
Gerrard out.
You know. Oh, Conte must have had a word with them, I'll tell you. Kelechi Iheanacho, let's talk about him, has been directly involved in 18 goals in his last 20 Premier League starts for Leicester, 13 goals and 5 assists, and has netted 4 goals against Palace in the top flight, his best tally against a single opponent. You know that Daka's going to play, don't you?
I was going to say, as I said earlier, you definitely play Kelechi.
It's I mean, let's be honest with you, we criticize him, but I'm sure we couldn't do any better.
I mean, from where Kelechi was a couple of seasons ago, where he was almost a pariah to Leicester fans. You know, when he came in, when we were playing behind closed doors and we had all the injuries and he was forced to go with 2 up front, Kelechi was fantastic then. And he's continued to be, decent as those stats show, And I think, I saw on Twitter this week somebody had put a stat up about Iheanacho being in the top 5, I think, of the Premier League in terms of goals and assists or versus minutes on the pitch. So we can't really knock him, can we?
No, and I think the fact that we've seen more of him means that we see more of his play, and like you say, he's good with the ball at his feet. He is, which we because he was hardly on, we hardly ever saw. Good afternoon to Eagle-Eyed Nate. How the devil are you, sir? Eagle-Eyed Football, please go over to their channel. I was on their channel the other night. Leicester is always a tough game. I can't say we'll definitely win, but I need to see us put in a good shift before next Sunday. I think we're both saying the same virtually. It could be either club you're talking about, except Thursday for us rather than Sunday. And please, Nat, do me a favour. Beat Chelsea. We can't let them get to another FA Cup fight. Beat them for us. Nate, I'm going to ask, and I don't think you are, because I think I was talking to Rich earlier, and if you don't, if you know, I'm looking for a Palace fan to do the watch along with me tomorrow. I'm struggling to find a Palace fan that's either not going to the match or is actually going to be watching it at home. If you are, if you know anybody, Nate, please tell them to get in contact at LeicesterTid on Twitter, and it's for the watch along tomorrow. I won't say good luck for tomorrow because obviously I won't mean it, but I do wish you all the best next weekend against Chelsea. I don't think there'll be many Leicester fans rooting for Chelsea. Do you?
No, I think Palace are going to do it this season. I think they're going to follow us up as the underdogs taking the cup.
I'd love it, to be honest with you. I always like to see the so-called, let's say, non-Big Six. Are you available? Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. Pop your Twitter in there because I've only got the main Twitter account for you. Pop the Twitter on there, and I'll send you a message. Thanks very much.
It's like watching live Tinder, and you've both matched.
Yes. You thought blind date was finished, but no, we bring it on. And thank you for saying Tinder and not the other one. I appreciate that. But let's quickly moving on. The Eagles have kept a clean sheet in each of their last 4 matches in all competitions, with Palace last having a longer such run back in November 2011. So that's going quite a way back there. So it is very, very close. Now, we're going to come to that point that we always do towards the steady on, Craig, he says. He doesn't get too excited at his age, Nate. You know, now then, Manchester United, just very quickly to touch on them. This was Everton you played, Manchester United. They, let's be honest with you, couldn't fight their way out of a bag. And then they come up against Man United with Ronaldo back. And I've just kind of have to play this for you. You know what makes that even more funny is the fact that it's a Man United fans laugh that I'm using on there. I'm sorry, Man United, but you deserve it. You really do. Right. In relation to Neil, he says there. Nat, don't say stick your Twitter in there or message me on at LeicesterTid, and that would be great. We'll have a chat. So, score predictions, young wise owl. I've gone, and I'd kind of changed my mind, to be honest with you, because I'd gone in the prediction show. I'd gone for a draw because I think this has got draw written all over it. But I'm so far behind on the points in this. I've gone from top to bottom in one season that I actually changed my mind and went for a 2-1 win. Ian Marshall's gone for the same score, but the other way around to. Okay, mate. Cheers, thank you. He's gone for 2-1 to Palace. Walsh has gone same as me, 2-1. Or I went the same as Walshy, in fairness, 2-1 to Leicester. Tags has gone for a 2-2 draw, as has Steve Lynix, and Ian Wilson's gone for a 1-0 win to Leicester. The 3-1 is still available for you, Craig, if that's the way you wish to go.
It is, but I'm going to go with another score that's not been taken there, and I think it's a 1-1.
You think it's a 1-1?
Yeah.
The draw does seem, like I say, to be popular, and we are very very well evenly matched. I say at the moment, it's if you've got the battle for the title later on Sunday, you've certainly got the battle for mid-table supremacy between our two teams. You know. 2 players I want to very quickly touch on you with you though. Tillemans. I mean, the paper is saying it's a straight fight between Arsenal and Man United to get his signature, and I don't think he'll go to either of those unless one of them gets that 4th position and ends up in the Champions League.
I don't see him going to Arsenal at all. To be honest, even if they're in the top 4, I'm not sure where he fits in at Arsenal. to be honest. I think he's a great player, but the way that they're setting up across midfield with Partey, and then they've got Emil Smith-Rowe, I don't think he'll be wanting to block the progress of his youngsters. I don't know. It's an interesting one. He looks to me more of a Spurs player than an Arsenal player, because you've got pacey runners, off him, and I don't think they've got that kind of player in their midfield. You see, their best playmaker at the moment is Harry Kane, who seems to be dropping back and becoming a number 10. So I think they've got a space in their team. Manchester United's weird, isn't it? Because Bruno's not going to be dropped. I don't know if Pogba's going to be going. I think with Man U, I think any paper that says it's going to be a straight fight is just. I know it's unlikely, but it's like they're just making things up, because it's not a Manchester United decision. It'll be a new manager decision. And until they've got the new manager in place, it's pointless talking about Man U are favourites to sign him, because the manager may fancy him, he may not fancy him. So I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if he's still in the Premier League. I think he'll go abroad.
Yeah, that everybody seems to think that he's stopping here, and yet talking about me and Nate being on Tinder. I mean, TM and Craig. I mean, this is why Craig went for it. I think it was he knew you'd gone for 1-1, and he wants to sort of butter you up, as they say. Personally, I'm not into that sort of freaky stuff, but each to their own. Each to their own. But he hasn't. I still say. Yes, he's likely to go, but he hasn't said no to Leicester. That's the thing. But, if he stays another... I know he sort of said about staying another season, but we're not going to let him run his contract down and sell him for nothing, are we?
No, I think a lot of people were getting very excited where it sounded like he was prepared to stay. But if it was a very cleverly worded statement. What he said was, if I have to stay here another year, then I'm more than happy to do so. Yeah, I'm sure he is. So he's not going to throw his toys out the pram and want to move. All he's going to do is run his contract down. So for Tielemans, it's a win-win, to be honest. I think we have to get a definitive decision. It's either you sign it or we cash in the summer.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I was talking to, I think whether you were on the same show or not, and when I was talking to Darius, the Man United fan, and he was saying that he thought Leicester had handled this negotiations badly, but we've been in conversations with Tielemans for a year.
I don't know what else you can do, to be honest. You put an offer on the table and the player decides to take it or not, and there's no point in ostracizing him in the middle of a season when he's one of your most important players. So I don't know how else we could have handled it, to be honest.
You're quite right there, Nat. I hadn't noticed that. Leicester Palace versus Crystal Palace.
Oh, right. Excellent. Yeah.
Can I just say, we've been 1 hour, 8 minutes into this, and I know I didn't put it up straight away, and I was rushing. But no excuses for old men. I should have gone to Specsavers. There's no rumours that I'm going to be taking over from Mike Dean at the end of the season. But yeah, this will run and run. But like I say, I think the decision's got to be made in the summer.
Yep.
And very lastly, Gallagher at Palace. What a player. I mean, I don't think we would get him, but if Tielemans was to leave, I'd take him. I'd take him, wouldn't you?
Oh, definitely. I think he's similar in some ways to Dewsbury Hall, but he tends to play more off the right-hand side. You can almost have those two players sort of running riot in the middle of the pitch, what you wouldn't, and then you can play with a proper number 10 as your ball player.
Yes.
I'm not sure, because I mean, Chelsea is saying that they're not going to sell him. He's going to take a silly bid, because I assume he's under a longer contract. But then he's got the decision, hasn't he? Does he then go back and say, yeah, okay, I'll stay, and then not play? I mean, I can't. There's a couple of players have done that, have said, okay, I'll stay and fight for my place. and not got the move, and have it's not really worked out. I think Dele Alli was one. I'll stay and I'll fight for my place. New manager coming in, blah blah blah, and now he's making the bench for Everton. So
yes,
I think Gallagher has got a big decision in the summer as well.
He is. You are going tomorrow, I take it?
Well, no, for once, I won't be there. I shall be accompanying my daughter to the Olivier Awards at the Albert Hall.
Very nice.
Yeah, obviously it was booked before we got this far into European competition, and our games were moved. So sadly on this one, I won't be there. So I wish you all, everyone who is going there, I wish you all a 6-6 draw. But secretly, I hope it's a boring 0-0 and I've missed nothing.
Can I just say, if we go and win this like 3 or 4-0, you're not going to another match all season.
I know, I'll be banned. Yeah.
That's the thing. Well, is it black tie event and dinner DJ?
No, it's not. It's not that bad because I'll be up in the gods, but I shall be at least putting on some clean underpants.
Well, that's a first. Yes. Well, hey, mate, enjoy it. Have a safe journey and have a great time with your daughter there.
Cheers.
And we will see you. We've got Watford next Wednesday, not in the Premier League, but in the Quiz League.
In the Quiz League, yes, indeed.
We still need, I think it is a Villa fan and not. I think Norwich fans have just disappeared off the face of the earth, to be honest with you. But we've got Watford coming in. So I will see you then, sir. And we've all just got a couple of 14 George 3-1 to Palace. Yeah, I think you might be a Palace fan there, George. You might just be a Palace fan. Hey, it could be. I'm not that confident. I'm going to have to be honest with you going into this against Palace, but fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. And yeah, it is Leicester Palace versus Crystal Council House. That is the new titles for the teams. Craig, have a safe and good journey down to London and enjoy yourself. And I will see you next week. Thank you very much, as always.
Cheers. Thanks, Chris. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Thanks very much to Craig. I do hope he has a very good time there. The Olivier Awards. Ooh, how posh. Not for him, sort of, the OK Magazine TV Awards. No. With Craig, it has to be the Olivier Awards. Yeah, you can do that. He does slum it to come onto this channel, I should normally find it's below him, but he's having to do community service. So that's why he's been with us for so long. Look, we're going to be back tomorrow at 1:30, hopefully with Nate for the watch along, then obviously the post-match show after the Liverpool Man City game. That could be a good game. Could be a good game, just slightly. But then again, like you say, sometimes you build these things up and they're not. Take care, guys. Stay safe. And thanks for watching and thanks for listening if you are doing so on the podcasts. And I will see you tomorrow at 1:30. Bye-bye now.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
That's all, folks.